Why did the Romans abandon Britain? The collapse of Roman Britain and the chaos that followed. What happens when an empire crumbles but forgets to tell its people? The year is 410 AD, and Britain, the once proud jewel of the Roman Empire, is on the brink of collapse. The legions are gone, the cities are crumbling, the barbarians are at the gates. And the people? They're waiting for reinforcements that will never come. But why did the Romans abandon Britain? How did one of the most powerful empires in history simply walk away from a land it had ruled for nearly 4 centuries? And what happened when the Britons realized they were on their own? What followed was a brutal tale of betrayal, rebellion, and desperate survival. From Vortigern's disastrous deal with the Saxons to the rise of warlords who would later inspire the legend of King Arthur, this is the story of how Roman Britain collapsed into chaos. And let's not forget Emperor Honorius, the man who, when asked for help, basically told the Britons, "Good luck with that." So was this the fall of civilization, or the birth of a new one? Stay with us as we unravel the secrets of Britain's darkest hour, because history is about to take a very dramatic turn. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join us as we bring history to life, one epic story at a time. The year was 410 AD, and the once mighty Roman province of Britannia was teetering on the edge of oblivion. The empire that had ruled these lands for nearly 4 centuries was now a shadow of its former self. The legions had once marched proudly across Hadrian's Wall, keeping the wild Picts of the north at bay. But now Britannia was on its own. The question remains, why did the Romans abandon Britain? Was it strategic? Was it necessity? Or was it simply a brutal case of every man for himself? Let's unravel this gripping tale of political betrayals, desperate battles, and a province left to fend for itself, where heroes and traitors rose, and a civilization came crashing down. To understand why Rome abandoned Britain, we must first look to Emperor Honorius, the feeble and ineffective ruler of the Western Roman Empire. Sitting in his palace at Ravenna, a fortified city in Italy, Honorius was facing a nightmare unlike any emperor before him. Rome, the eternal city itself, was under threat. Alaric the Visigoth, a warlord with a thirst for conquest, had sacked Rome in 410 AD, a humiliation that sent shockwaves through the empire. Honorius had no choice but to focus every remaining resource on saving Italy and Gaul. Meanwhile, in Britannia, the Roman governors were in a state of sheer panic. Without reinforcements, they knew their doom was imminent. The legions, those mighty warriors who had held the frontier for centuries, were being pulled back to fight wars elsewhere. And so, in early 410 AD, a desperate message was sent from the Britons to Honorius, pleading for help. The letter, known as the Rescript of Honorius, carried a simple and chilling reply: look to your own defenses. That was it. No troops, no gold, no reinforcements, nothing. The Romans had washed their hands of Britain, and for the Britons, this was the beginning of a dark age they never saw coming. With Rome gone, Britain fell into absolute anarchy. Think of it as a well-maintained machine suddenly losing all its engineers. Everything broke down. The Roman road networks fell into disrepair. The once booming economy collapsed as trade with the continent halted. Law and order? Gone. Banditry, warlords, and crime became the new norm. The real nightmare, however, was the barbarians. For centuries, Britannia had been protected from 3 terrifying enemies: the Picts from Scotland, fierce warriors covered in tattoos; the Scots from Ireland, yes, the original Scots were Irish; the Saxons from Germany, brutal raiders hungry for land. Now, with no Roman legion standing guard, these enemies pounced. The Picts stormed Hadrian's Wall, pouring into the British countryside like a swarm of locusts. Entire towns were slaughtered, villages burned, and survivors taken as slaves. The Saxons, meanwhile, came raiding from the east, launching deadly assaults on Roman cities like Londinium, modern-day London, and Camulodunum, Colchester. With no Roman governor left to command them, the local British leaders had to do the unthinkable: defend themselves or die. With the walls collapsing and the people crying out for leadership, a bold plan was hatched by one man, Vortigern, a British nobleman with a mind for survival. In c. 425 AD, Vortigern made a deal with the Saxons. He invited them to Britain to serve as mercenaries, offering them land and gold in exchange for fighting off the Picts. It seemed like a brilliant strategy. The Saxons were fierce warriors, and for a time they held back the northern invaders. But Vortigern had made a grave mistake. Never invite the wolves into your home and expect them to leave. The Saxons, led by Hengist and Horsa, quickly realized that Britain was weak. Why serve the Britons when they could simply take the land for themselves? In a shocking betrayal, the Saxons turned against Vortigern, massacred his allies, and began their own conquest of Britain. The war that followed, known as the Anglo-Saxon invasion, would change Britain's destiny forever. With the Saxons carving out their own kingdoms in the east, the Britons needed a hero. And from the ashes of Roman Britain, a legend was born. A warrior king whose name would echo through history. A man many believe was the inspiration for the great King Arthur. Around 500 AD, a British warlord, possibly named Ambrosius Aurelianus or Artorius, led a desperate last stand against the Saxons at the Battle of Mount Badon. And against all odds, he won. The Britons pushed back the Saxons for a generation, offering one last glimpse of hope before Britain eventually succumbed to the invaders. Arthur's kingdom may have been legend, but the battle itself? Very real. So, why did the Romans abandon Britain? They were overstretched. Rome could no longer defend all its territories. Internal decay weakened the empire. Corruption and incompetence rotted it from within. Local leaders failed to unite. Instead of working together, they fought each other, making conquest easier for their enemies. The barbarians were too powerful. The Roman legions were the glue holding Britain together. When they left, the province collapsed. Britain went from being a jewel of the Roman Empire to a land of chaos, warlords, and new invaders. The Romans left Britain in 410 AD. They would never return. But the legacy of their departure? That shaped the Britain we know today. Before you go, enjoyed this gripping tale? There's more where that came from. Hit subscribe, smash that notification bell, and join us as we uncover more forgotten stories of history. What do you think was the biggest reason Rome abandoned Britain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.